Welcome to Spill the Real podcast, the Margarita Book Club for women in their 40s navigating midlife, motherhood, marriage, and that nagging feeling that you should have life figured out by now but don't.
We're two 40-something moms of teenagers, married for years, probably in perimenopause, and still trying to lose the same 20 pounds we've been fighting for a decade.
This isn't about having all of the answers. It's about spilling the real conversations as we wish someone had with us sooner.
So grab a margarita or a coffee and let's spill the real. All right. Welcome back.
Welcome back to Spill the Real podcast.
Spill the real. Today we're talking about, the things we're talking about, the things we don't want to talk about. We're talking about, our title is The Things We Don't Say Out Loud, Midlife Fears.
This one's going to get deep for me. I'm just saying that out loud right now.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to talk about our fears and, anyways. So I'm going to throw this question over to you. Our real talk question we're going to start with is, what's a fear you've never said out loud because saying it makes it feel too real?
Okay, I've only said this out loud one time in my life. And it was really when I was trying to coach somebody and be relatable in that moment. Anyways, or maybe I even wrote about it in my book. I don't know. I didn't realize this until I was later and probably done a lot of self-development. But I am fearful of being successful.
Elaborate.
Okay. I have all these fears of being good at something because when I was younger, I was good at something and I was bullied for it. So lots of ugly things happened. And I mean, there's going to be people actually listening to this podcast that may been the ones that had bullied me. But I'm already past it. Like, I don't hold grudges. We've said our piece, a lot of things, but I was, as you all know, I've said it before, but I was a really good athlete and there was a lot of hate that came. I remember being an 8th grader and I called the news messenger inquirer. I called. I even know, like, I assume he still covers games. He might have just retired, but because I'm old. I remember calling and saying, please don't make me the athlete of the week again. Like, I remember begging him because I knew what was going to happen to me.
That's so sad.
But it was being young, playing with a lot of old kids and beating them out of a lot of spots. And which again happened for a reason and has taught me so many things. But still to this day, there's a lot of fears I have that I can't, like, I know they're it's not relevant. I'm not going to get bullied, but because of how girls treat girls, and through jealousy or whatever that may look like, I realize now that's about them. It's not about me.
Right.
And that's what I have to tell myself, but it doesn't make it less.
It doesn't make it hurt less, or that's
so
traumatizing.
I really couldn't figure out, like, even whenever like puzzle pieces would come along and I would get so hurt by the things that would come back to me and why do they hurt so bad, was because I was redefining how things were, the trajectory of those with disabilities and the competition behind that and what that may look like. And just because I'm good at something doesn't make somebody less bad at it.
Right.
But
and it's not your fault when you put in the time or you just have that natural ability. It's not like you sought out a person and said, I'm going to be better than you.
Yeah.
You know?
So
kids are mean too.
These are the things I'm saying out loud that most of the time I would not talk about, and it probably has a little bit to do with me being a special needs sibling. Like, I make myself small to make other people big, to include and empower, just because that's naturally what I've done as a child. And I didn't want to be good at things because I thought being good, that meant that somebody was going to feel jealous by that and put me down in the meantime.
Dang.
Yeah, so beat that, Christy. Let's go deep.
Who said we were having a therapy session today? This is usually therapy. This was dark. But it's true. So, and I went back and forth with, no, I'm not going to share that. Like, that's kind of, I don't know. But um, here we are. I'm just going for it. I guess I always have a fear of losing my husband.
Oh, same.
You know, um, and for lots of reasons, like I can't imagine, because you
Mhm.
imagine this, like, we're gonna grow old together, and we'll be grandparents someday, and we'll be in our whatever, our retirement home, hopefully on the beach somewhere. Um, and I can't imagine not doing that, or doing that without him. And then of course just all the other fears and things that come along with that, like what would me and the kids do, and how would I
Mm.
help the kids navigate it? Yeah. Sorry, honey. I know he's listening, but it always has been. So when we were, I think I've maybe shared this before, um, maybe on our marriage episode. Um, when we were in the hospital with our daughter Jordan, and I mean, so many things happened to so many people while we were there. I mean, literally, like, just people diagnosed with cancer, like so many things were happening to people we knew while we were there in this like short 3 month span of time. Um, but we had a a friend from back home, especially like a childhood friend of Neil's. He he was a father, and he died tragically in an accident. Um, and I remember we left the hospital. Very few times we left the hospital. We left the hospital to go to his funeral. And it was like a big hit in our
Mm.
small hometown community. Um, but I remember, I can't remember if I said this out loud to Neil, um, or if I just said it to myself. But while we were going through what we were going through, I said, um, this would be so much worse for me
Mm.
if this was my reality. This would be
Mm.
so much worse for me.
Mm.
Um, anyways, yeah, that was right off the bat. We just went right down.
We
We
went
went right down, right
well,
down.
and when you said and I said kind of under my breath, like same. When you said that, it's not necessarily Justin. It is. I've always had a fear since I was little. Those fears have now shifted into like it's getting closer and closer. But like I am so fearful of anybody close to me, but my mom and my
Yes,
dad.
yes,
If I lo- when that time comes, my whole reality of my whole world changes
right,
because I'm a special needs sibling.
right,
So like there's a lot of fear around that.
yeah.
Which is probably why I wrote the book that I wrote,
Mm-hmm.
because trying that perspective. It's not that I don't want that to happen, obviously, but I've never had anybody close to me, like really close, like besides
Yeah,
a grandparent, right?
right,
But like
right.
they're older,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
it's like the way of life. But like I have these probably unwarranted, like unwarranted is not the word I'm probably looking for, but like these fears of losing someone very close
Mhm.
and what that would do to my whole world,
Right,
like
right,
how would I overcome that, and
right,
how do you navigate what that looks like? Because I've never experienced that. And so I
right.
think, probably because there's this constant reminder when I see my brother and when my parents are aging right in front of me, and when
Mhm.
it is really like I almost have to laugh it off because
It can be debilitating, like,
it
yeah,
can be.
yeah.
And I think that's what maybe we spend some time on. Like it wouldn't, like sometimes I remember like going to sleep at night and having to think like and just pray like, please Lord, please take these fears away. Like
I
I'm
know,
leaning in to trust you
I
right
know,
now
because
because
that
I
you
can't.
can't let it go, you can't get it out of your head, yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
I think it's unbearing sometimes, the fear of it could be debilitating
Mhm.
it for some people. So I've had to go to prayer to like let that go and just
Yes,
really throw my
yes.
hands up and trust. But it doesn't mean that those thoughts don't enter my brain.
No, we can't live there, because then you just become, I feel like you just become a shell of a person,
Mhm.
um, or never leave your house, or what, um, because I mean, there are fears of the inevitable, but then there's also fears that we conjure up in our head that we're like, off the
Well,
wall,
never
and it
happened.
probably will never happen. There's like a really small percentage that it'll happen, but um it's still there. You still can't, like you can't say, well, just quit thinking about it, because
Mm,
that doesn't help. That
right.
doesn't help. You have different seasons and times of your life where it's in the forefront of your mind for sure. I mean, I guess I'm kind of a living testimony of I've probably
Mm,
had two of a lot of people's biggest
mm,
fears
mm,
in a very like short amount of time.
mm,
Um, one was losing a child,
mm,
and that's as bad as what you think it would feel like. Um, I have said there, I feel like there's different levels of that for different reasons, but um, and having cancer.
mm,
Um, so I'm living proof that you can survive things that you are fearful of happening, because like, and that's why I say God never promised us that things aren't going to happen. Like
mm,
there was never a promise in the Bible that says you're going to live in a bubble your whole life and you're never going to experience pain or hurt or loss, or we're going to experience those. It's just how we handle it and how
mm,
we overcome and how we use that.
mm,
So, but there are things that you can't control your mind from going there
mm.
sometimes.
Well,
So,
and I think you are like you actually give me a little bit of hope and I guess a settle in my belly, or my heart, whichever one you
mhm,
want to think about. But I guess of just, you know what, other people have it. If my fear is that I'm gonna get sick one day, like all the eggs are in my basket. To I got to live forever. I got to outlive my brother.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, I know. I know. It's all right. It's all right.
so there's like fear, of like what if I get sick, or like if something
Yeah.
was to happen to
Yeah.
me. Um, so like, but I realize then sometimes when those fears enter, I see people like they have lived through that. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that it's
It's not gonna take you down. It's not. I mean, there are, but I know, like, there are different circumstances around different, like, you have different reasons for your fears,
mm,
like, your fear of getting sick, that's not just for your own sake, your own
mm,
self,
mm-hmm,
um and I feel like sometimes the fears of things are more for not ourselves, but fear of
of
how do we help other people, or how like,
mm.
um anyway, God, we went like,
We went deep from
woo,
the very beginning.
right off the bat.
Well, and kind of going back, so if you're new here and you didn't listen to our previous episode of we talk about failure, so kind of like lightening the mood a little bit. It's not really lightening, but one of the things that I had to get over, I've taken a lot of risk, and I've
Mhm.
taken a lot, like
Yeah.
started a lot of things, I've created a lot of things, and some have been successful and some not so. They're successful to me
Right.
because I
Right.
did them for a reason, right?
Right.
But one of the things that I really had to challenge myself through over the fear is when I started Puzzle Pieces, which is a nonprofit for those with disabilities here in Owensboro. When I started that, I only thought I was failing. If it doesn't do well,
Mhm.
then it's only me that it's going to
Yeah.
impact, right? Because it was kind of like my dream, my desires, and then we weren't that big, so like it's not gonna be it's not gonna hurt too bad
Right.
if I try it and it doesn't
They gave
work
it
in the
though.
first,
They gave it
yeah.
though. Good try. Yeah.
And I remember talking to a couple of city managers at the time, Tim Ross being one of them. And I'm like, hey, I'm not going back to teaching. If Puzzle Pieces fails, can I help you plan events in Owensboro? And he was like, sure. Like he's like, but I don't think Puzzle Pieces is gonna fail. But the whole time in my brain, it's all these fears of these what ifs.
Mhm.
Um, and so now what I feared then, now moving forward, that fear has shifted because if Puzzle Pieces, if there's a lot of people that have left careers to to come and work at Puzzle Pieces and
Mhm.
change the trajectory of their entire life over developing something or impacting something within what we've created at Puzzle Pieces. And a lot of that responsibility falls on me. And in recent news and the way the world's happening and Medicaid and all of that, there's like major cuts. And so like there's like all these fears I have entangled, not so much of me failing, it's me failing other people
Yeah.
because and the pressure being on me to like
Right.
solve it, and that those fears of what if I can't?
Yeah.
What if I don't? What if I can't?
Yeah.
Um, but now I think so. Of course they're there, right?
Mhm.
These fears. I'm going to tell you what I do to get over them.
Okay, let's hear it.
Besides pray about it, but all that I do is I try to identify why does that fear exist.
Mhm.
I can't control. There's
Mhm.
some things that are out of my control.
Right.
So I try to identify what's in my control and what's out of my
Mhm.
control.
Your circle of control.
You nailed it. And then what's out of my control, I try to control the story that I want to tell in
Mhm.
reference to that and what can then be back into my control. So, although there's a lot of circumstances that are unsettling and we never know, I try to identify 1 to 2 barriers that I think I will encounter and then come up with an action plan for that of what's in my control.
Right.
And if I put everything out there,
Mhm.
and I do it with all the best of my ability and pray like hell. Can I say pray and hell at the same time?
Yeah.
Then I'm going to overcome it. And that is how I overcome my fear every single day.
Woo. Woo.
Or I write
That's
about it, one of the two.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I feel like you've got to have an outlet
Mm,
for how to get past it. Because and that I said that too because that's something we teach our kids at school. Especially like when I go back to my counseling classes, like is it in your circle of control? Like, if can you control the outcome? Can you control what happens? Can you control whether or not it goes this way or that way? And if you can't, you're gonna have to find a way to like let
let
it
it go.
go
Else it.
because you're wasting your energy on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard to explain to kids, especially. And I think it's still hard for
For
parent
adults.
or for yeah adults. And because you don't want to like. Sometimes I feel like for people, there's a fear of not having control,
Mm,
and man, I feel like that is not me.
mm.
I don't really want to be in control of
I
anything.
do love me some control.
Not me so much. No.
I've shifted that, but I do think I'm probably a different, well, I will say my fear as a kid and my fear now are exactly the same height of a fear. It just is coming more, midlife. It's becoming more of a reality. So I'm getting a little bit more trying to control what that
Mhm.
looks like versus when
Mhm.
I was a kid. But I think the fears that we have as children versus the fears that we have now are totally different in a different way just because of our lived in
Mhm.
experiences.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I had a fear of dying or a fear of being sick or a fear of losing a child. Like I
Mhm.
didn't have those when I was younger.
No, you don't
But
think about that kind of stuff.
but now like when you're older, you see life in a different lens
Mhm.
and so fears come in of it's all around what ifs.
Right. Right. And I think things are so much more visible now. Like you hear about all the you've got social media and things like that.
Yes.
Things are more, but as a kid, like sure, like I don't remember my parents watching the news and stuff like that, and I wasn't one of those kids that got like anxious like hearing about something that happened to somebody on the news and then like fearful it was going to happen. But there were some times I did, but I feel like now as an adult, we hear about all these
Mhm.
things and you know about all these things that happen to all these
Mhm.
different people. And so or you just pay more attention to it. I don't know
Mhm.
which it is, a little bit of both. But um so I feel like that causes more fear
Fears in it.
in like people like our age because you just
Mhm.
pay attention to
You have more
things more.
inputs to,
Yes.
and
Yes.
exposure to, so it unlocks fears you didn't know.
Right.
So
Then
that's
you
why I feel like sometimes people do take a mental break from like Facebook or don't
mhm.
watch the news. Like sometimes you can control the inputs in which you get that
Yes.
that make you fearful, which creates anxiety
Yes.
if it becomes debilitating, right?
Yes. I remember as a kid, and I'm going to see if anybody else remembers this. So there was, the house is still there. It is on, um, it's on Parish, if you live in Owensboro, um, on uh, the Frederica, the other side of Frederica, not the Sports Center side of Frederica, the other side. There was a lady that did dance lessons. Anybody with me on this?
Nope, not
Okay.
following.
So you turn there by Walgreens and you go back, and it's this house, and it's like one of those really pretty, like Victorian style houses on corner. It I feel like up until recently, it still had like a sign in the yard. But anyways, so my mom took me to dance lessons there, and I would do ballet and tap. I feel like it was for a very short amount of time. Well, I mean, you're in a house, so like you're the room, you're like in a room doing these lessons. It's not like this big open studio thing. But I remember going, and I can't remember if I had seen something on the news or watched a movie or something about a fire. Well, all of a sudden, mom's taking me to these lessons, and I I do not want to go. I do not want to go in the room, like, because it's
Oh.
like a room. There's one way in, one way out, kind of, it's like a door.
Mm.
I did not want to go in the room. I did not want mom to leave, like, before. Like, I would go in and do my thing, and mom would wait out wherever, and I would come out and whatever. Well, I had seen this. I had a fear of this house catching on fire and getting stuck inside. And so it like, for some reason, it was just in this house. I don't know. It didn't bother me anywhere else. But I would make my mom stand at the door. Like, I had to be able to see her the whole time. And then I feel like we just quit going, and I just didn't do it anymore after that. But I mean, that was I feel like a rare thing that I saw. I couldn't even tell you right now, like, how I saw that or how I knew about it. If I heard somebody talking about fire, but I feel like now our kids do hear more about that
Mm.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And it's either going to make them maybe more resilient to it
Mm.
or more fearful. I don't know which way it's going to be. It did not help me out at all. I could have been a ballet or tap dancer, but fear
Fear. Oh, well,
knocked
and
me right out
maybe
of
to
that.
your point of what you're saying, maybe there are going to be less risk takers
Mm,
of not doing something that you know, based on something that they saw on, a reel or a TikTok video of this happening. So they're not going to do X, Y, and Z,
right.
whereas they might not have given it a thought. And
Yeah.
you unlock
Yes.
fears,
Right.
right? That
Right.
you didn't know exist over something of that. And I am one of those people, if like somebody loses like a loved one, or I see something like trauma happen on TV or
Hmm.
whatever, like it makes me like eel, like I am eel for what that person is experiencing and
Yes.
going for. Like I'm a
Yes.
very empath is that I
Yeah.
considered an empath,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
um so I feel there, but it doesn't necessarily like I might feel it and think, man, what would I do in that situation?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
and have all those feelings, but then I can kind of like let that go and move on.
Yes.
But I
Yeah.
do think sometimes it does, you know, warrant us to maybe think differently. And
Mhm.
I'll use an example of how fears can serve us in the best of way, because of all of the car accidents that are happening.
Mhm.
I feel like it is from like distracted drivers. So like,
Mhm.
of course, that then fears my children driving.
Uh-huh.
But I
Yes.
do know, like, I am a distracted driver for a lot of different reasons, and it has made me become better
Right.
by
Yeah.
being, more intentional about
Mhm.
not being distracted. So I don't know. I think sometimes fears, the right healthy ones, can build, it could be good and serve us in the
Yes.
best of way to show up differently or
Right.
not do X, Y, and Z out of for our own safety. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. No, yes, I agree because I feel like there's some that you can get past, and then I read this too. Um like, we can have inherited fears.
Oh, yeah, I could totally.
And I was like, "Oh, huh." Like, fears that our parents
Mm,
kind of
Cast
put
on. Mm-hmm.
put on us, not intentionally maybe, but just so then I got to thinking about that. I was like, gosh, do I have any of those? And my irrational fear of snakes is totally from my dad.
Right.
Totally from my dad. So I was like, okay.
Okay, so you do have some other I don't know that it's a fear, but I've seen you run like you ran this past weekend. You ran like heck to get out of a way of a would be a bumblebee.
Yeah. That was yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it overtakes you. It's like sometimes it like makes you like out of your mind. I'm not super scared of I I don't want anything like in my like I don't like any kind of bug or animal like
Mm.
up in my up in my face or like I'm not really scared of wood bees, but I did run for my life. I swatted it at my own kid and then I ran. Well,
Oh,
I
that's
mean, I've
funny.
I've pushed my child out of the way to run from a snake
Mm. Oh,
and ran in the house and left her standing out
I would totally do
where
that.
the snake was.
And I think how we look at fear, like, of course, there's like fears like that, you know. Sometimes, depending on who you're talking to, that could be debilitating,
Oh,
honestly.
oh,
You know,
yeah, I knew somebody who couldn't even talk about snakes.
yeah,
Couldn't even talk about them. See them on TV or see them like no, she couldn't even that. I was like, okay, I'm not that bad.
right. I think there's too. I think that when fear, I do think fear can be healthy in so many different ways to make us maybe do good by certain things, but I think we live in a world that, I look at, I think there's just a lot of input of unwarranted, like trying a scare tactic and casting on your fears, or like, what am I trying to say here? Like, if I knew what your fears are, I can use that for my advancement of teaching you something
Mhm.
I'm going to use in the special needs world, right?
Yeah.
I wrote a book on literally on the fears that special needs parents have, of that they think that of their neurotypical like I'm not enough for they're going to
Right.
resent me, and I have this really fear around that. So I wrote a book, a special needs memoir around teaching them of how to not like let go of that fear.
Mhm.
How do you move through that?
Right.
So I do think as a society, that is why all the inputs we receive are sometimes to cast on our fears,
Mhm.
so that it could be a sell tactic around
Yeah.
something else
Yeah.
to
Oh.
solve it.
Yeah, like
It's like a circle of a
yes. I
revolving
mean, I
door.
feel like politicians and or in the
Hmm.
news, yeah, like totally like prey on people's fears of things.
Pray was the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Got you. I got you.
Thank you.
So but so talking about that, talking about fears and then fears causing us not to do things.
Right?
Um, so then you have to ask yourself, okay, what is worse, fear or regret?
I always say regret is
Regret.
worse.
Oh, that was a no-brainer for me.
It,
No-brainer.
I never want to regret.
Mm-mm. I hate regretting
I hate
things.
regretting things.
It that will make me
I
lose
think
my
that
mind
is why,
sometimes.
one, I don't hold grudges, but and then two, also, I don't have a lot of regrets, because if there's like, even if it's like a friendship or like a conversation I don't know, like, I'm never going to not go very long without reaching out, or I'm going to just be very direct
Mhm.
person and say it like it is,
Mhm.
because I don't want something to happen and me regret the way that I left that
Right,
person.
right, right. I think that is yeah. I would rather be fearful in the in having the conversation than
Right.
regretting not.
Not. Yeah. I think that's why also, so talking about inheriting fears. It's not a fear, but every time, and now I notice my kids do it. Justin does it, and he probably wasn't one that did it before. I do it, but so my mom and my dad was a firefighter.
Mhm.
So at night, like anytime that she was on the phone with him, anytime we left the house, everybody said, "I love you."
Mhm.
And I think because of fear, like
Right.
later I learned it was just something we did.
Mhm.
And my mom was like, when your dad's going, and she didn't tell me this when I was little,
Right,
right?
right.
But like who knows what's going to
Right.
happen. And
Doing a
so
job
I
like that.
always
Yeah.
want to know that every conversation or every time, like, I never miss the opportunity.
I
I
say
wanted
that.
him to know that.
Yep.
And the same, right?
Yep.
Like, and so that when she told me that when I was like in my 20s, I guess, it just stuck. So I've always done it. And now Justin, like,
Yeah.
we all do it. They don't know that that's the
Right.
reason. And I don't even know that my mom probably even remembers that conversation of how important and that, like,
Mm-hmm.
it planted a seed.
Yeah.
Like, I never want to regret that you didn't know how I felt if that was our last time talking.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was deep too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I get it. Like, yeah. Oh, I totally get it. So I had a couple of things, I
Yeah.
guess, that kind of popped in my head, um, to maybe kind of round us out. I
Okay,
don't know
round us
where
out,
we are.
sis.
Um, we can't stay. I've learned this. We can't stay frozen in fear, or we can't let fear paralyze us. Um, you can't.
Mhm.
You can't. It's I feel like it could totally. I feel like I've seen people that it has affected them so much that they became they weren't the same person.
Mhm.
You know. Um,
I think I see that more with people not eh, the ones that are fearful of what could happen or what couldn't happen. It's more of their own, they're not betting on themselves. And
right.
so, like, it's their confidence. And I always say, like, you're never going to gain confidence on the couch. Like, your fears are not going to go away,
No.
and you're not going to be confident that the good is going to happen from it by laying on the couch wishing and hoping for it.
Right.
So, like,
Because then you're going to have the fear, and then you're going to have the what ifs.
exactly.
So it's just like double
Double
whammy.
whammy. Yeah.
um, and I think and we kind of talked about this already. There are healthy fears. Like it is, like I think you should be, like fearful in a way of if I don't tell somebody how I feel, what if I didn't have that opportunity? Like
Mm.
that's a healthy fear.
Yes.
Like the fear of I don't know, forgetting somebody's birthday or something like that. Like those are the things that kind of I feel like keep you thinking and
Yes.
keep things in the forefront of your mind. But then there's also those irrational fears
Mm. Mm.
of well, what if I don't want to drive a car because what if I have a car wreck?
Right.
Like
Right.
you can't like or my kids are never gonna get their license because I'm afraid they'll have a car wreck.
Right.
I mean, does that always stay in my mind when my daughter is not at home and I know she's somewhere? Yes.
Mm.
Like if my phone rings when she's not in the house, like she's calling me, not texting me, I am fearful every time I answer that I'm going to
Mm.
answer to somebody telling me she's been in a wreck or
Mm.
her being frantic or, um, and that's another thing. Like I always hated for my kids to be scared or to be fearful of things.
Mm.
That always bothered me. Um, like I was always as a parent, like I gotta go back to like these parenting
Mm.
fears. One of my biggest fears as a parent, um, one was like if like I don't know, like standing close to like a balcony or something, like dropping. I don't know. That was a weird irrational fear. But my other one was like them being scared because like I they couldn't find me or they
Mm.
got left by themselves. Like I was always scared, like especially when we would go to Neil's games, especially when they got a little bit older. Sometimes, we would drive separately and sometimes one of them or both of them would want to stay and ride home with him. And so I was always scared. I always made sure I went and told him, "You've got them. They are here with you. I am leaving. I do not have them." I was so scared we would
Mm.
leave them somewhere
Mm.
and they would be scared.
Mm.
Like not scared that something would happen to them,
Right.
but the fear that they would
They would.
have.
Yeah.
That was always a one of those
Well, and
weird fears.
as you've sat here, I'm having like this realization that my kids think I worry all the time, and I don't worry. I just say out loud the act, and but they're in their how they're interpreting it is so I'm probably casting unwarranted fear. Like, if they're going to have fears now I'm going forward, but because I'm what I can't control, I try to control it by like stating the plan. Like, if we're going into a large crowd, if we get separated, who do you know my number? Like, I
Yes.
always like go through all of
Yeah.
the plan because that's what I can
Yeah.
control.
And then
Because
we
the real
scare the
fear is
crap out of
there.
them. Yeah.
But then they always like, "Oh, mom, you worry about everything." I'm like, I I don't. I try to like. It's not a
I want you
worry
to
that
be
stays on
prepared for
me.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad
No,
actually
no, I
now.
get it. Like, having to have that conversation, especially with Riley as she's driving and going like places by herself, like going in Walmart by herself, like having to have those conversations about those things that we hear about on social media that happens to women,
Mm,
like when they go in Walmart and
mhm.
somebody starts following them around the store, and or there's something on their windshield when they get out
Right.
there, like it, like you don't want to scare them, but
You want
they
them to
need
be prepared and
they need to
understand and
have a
awareness.
healthy fear and be
Yes.
aware.
Yes,
So
a healthy fear and be
yeah,
aware.
yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. And then also, like, fear leads to courage.
Mhm.
So being fearful of things isn't always a horrible thing, and resiliency.
Mhm. Yeah. I don't think anything I've ever done and I've accomplished, um, and I didn't do it without having fear. So, I mean, it's just being able to literally take it and do it. I
Hmm.
think once you do that and you're like, "Oh, well, that one," like,
Yeah.
you know,
So see, you could say you had, instead of being fearful, you were courageous.
see, I'm a very courageous person.
Courageous person.
I'm just a very controlling, and I like to control things.
All right, I have another quote here.
All right. I love your
And
quotes.
this one kind of ties us in with our midlife. Midlife isn't the season where fear disappears. Sorry to break that to you. It's the season where we learn we are stronger than the things we are afraid of.
Oh, 100% can totally relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will try more things now than I
Mm,
would definitely when I was first starting out because I am a lot stronger.
yes. We have a lot more knowledge, a lot more
Hmm.
experience, and we're also at that age where we don't give a crap either. Sometimes.
It's true. I think too, though, I have met a lot of people our age that are still have some fears. Like, I think everything happens in timing. So, like, to me, this is not necessarily, yes, I know that we emphasize like midlife and that, but some women or men, whatever, haven't experienced some of the life things that we've already
Yeah.
experienced,
Right.
right? And so you don't know what you don't
Don't know.
know.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
only time will be able to tell you that
Hmm.
and make you stronger and relinquish that fear and or move through that and build the resiliency. I think life is always about beating your yesterday. Like, I've always loved that quote is like, if you're just waking up to beat your yesterday, you are going to become more resilient, you are going to be stronger,
Yeah.
and you're not going to live out of fear because you're just worried about beating your yesterday.
Yeah.
I've
I like
always
that.
just kind of ran with that and done that. So I guess that fear doesn't overwhelm me, because I can't change tomorrow. I can't
No.
forecast what tomorrow's going to bring me,
No.
but I can look back on yesterday and know that I'm going to do everything I can to beat my yesterday.
Right. Right.
That's how I
Wow.
live in my fear. As I
That.
just like literally, we talked 40 minutes ago and I was crying.
Well, I think that's a great way to end this one. Man, we've had some
Little
deep
doozies.
conversation. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is good because that's, I mean, we learn and from talking to each other, and
And I think the whole point of us doing this too and sharing this is that you feel and hear yourself within our conversations, but also that maybe that right now if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I know somebody that needs to hear this, then definitely share, like copy the
mhm,
link and share. I do that all the time with people when I've heard a great podcast episode that resonated with me, and I want it to resonate and share. Like, caring, it comes from sharing,
right?
right? When
Yes.
you truly care about somebody, then you're going to share with them the things that make them beat their yesterday.
Yep.
And so I hope that if this resonated with you, and to share it and move through that, especially if somebody's going through a hard time and fear is overwhelming, because it can be overwhelming and it can
Yes.
feel debilitating. You can feel like a failure, going back to a previous episode. So I think it's
It's
important.
always better when you have people
Absolutely.
that you know that can has either experienced it or they feel that way too, you know?
Right.
You don't feel so alone. So,
Well, and that's why you need to have friends or people in your life that don't want to just talk about the weather.
exactly.
Right.
Yes. 100%.
All right. Until
Okay.
next
Until next time.
time. All right, that's it for today's meeting of the Margarita Book Club.
Thanks for sitting with us and spilling the real for a little while.
If today's conversation sounded like a lot of your own thoughts, you're definitely not alone.
Follow us on social media at Spill the Real.
And come back next week for another round of Real Talk. Same book club, no reading required.